Hey everybody, Brian Trout coming to you from Mossy Creek Fly Fishing with your fly fishing forecast. The date for today is Monday, the 25th of September. So we've officially moved into fall. We had equinox just a couple days ago, and that brings about a whole lot of change and a whole lot of transitions for our fishing. So let's get right to it. We just had a tropical storm move across the state Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the good news is it brought us some much needed rain. The bad news is we definitely didn't get quite as much as we had hoped for, which has really been the story of the entire spring and summer. For the most part, most of these storms have either split up and gone around the valley or just stayed east or just to our west. And this one we did get some good soaking rains, but we need quite a bit more. So eastern part of the valley and the Blue Ridge points to the east got 2 inches, which is really good. And as you move further west across the valley to the Allegheny front, it was like half an inch. Some places only a quarter of an inch. At my house on Mossy Creek, we got about 1 inch of rain. So, again, much needed. Added some color on some of the creeks. Bumped the South Fork and the North Fork of the Shenandoah up a little bit. So they've already peaked. They'll probably start coming down pretty quickly. When we're in drought, things go up fast and things go down fast. So we need a few more of these tropical storms to come in for the next 7 days. It doesn't look like a lot of rain, maybe some sprinkles, just 30% chance here and there. So no major rain for the next 5 to 8 days. But shorter days and cooler nights, and that leads to less evaporation. The growing season is coming to an end. Farmers are shutting off the pumps and harvesting. All those things help the water table rebound somewhat. And once all the trees start dropping leaves and the growing season comes to an end, we'll have a little bit of a bump in the groundwater levels as well. So anyway, moving right along, chipping away, here's what you've got, okay? As we move into the month of October, that is when the state of Virginia typically begins the trout stocking programs for the entire Commonwealth. So that's when your delayed harvest streams are going to get stocked, your put and take waters are going to get stocked, and in typical low water or droughty conditions, the state will focus on impoundments first. So they're going to go to lakes and ponds and places where they can put fish in and know there's plenty of habitat and room to move around, etc. So unless we get a lot of rain, I would be looking for that in the next couple of weeks to be where they start, some of our bigger lakes and reservoirs and ponds. As we get rain, they'll start to bring online delayed harvests and all those. So we'll keep everybody up to date. The Department of Wildlife Resources posts their stockings every day. So be checking out the daily trout stocking schedule. Water temps are good. We've had plenty of cool nights. It hasn't really been very hot for the last few weeks, but last week we had a lot of nights in the 40s. So for the trout fishermen that are keyed on this, the only element we're really lacking is a lot of rain. Hopefully we'll get some of that, but as far as cool nights, we've got that going. So as far as brook trout goes, like I said, the Blue Ridge got a lot of rain. If you're over there and you got 2 or 3 inches in your local drainage and you want to get out in the national forest and see if there's some brook trout moving about, go for it. The park is still closed for fishing. I think we're going to need to get like another one of these really good storms, and then they should probably look to lift that. The hope is that we can get some water and get out and enjoy some brook trout fishing for a few weeks before these fish go and spawn for the fall. And as far as the spring creeks go, they're in decent shape. Mossy is actually fishing pretty well. It's got some color to it. This is the time of year where some of the vegetation of the creek starts to die back a little bit. That creates turbidity. Some of those moss beds get exposed, the silt beds get exposed, and that can create a little turbidity. It was definitely colored yesterday after all the rains. So that really helps with your approach after months of really crystal clear in low water. Those brown trout we've got 2 or 3 days of marine layer right now. It's very cloudy out, and those browns feel really comfortable when we get those marine layers. No breaks in the clouds, just heavy clouds all day. plus some color to the water, they feel comfortable getting out and foraging. And there's plenty of food. Okay, so peak grasshopper season is like upon us right now. I know a lot of people don't realize that. They think summertime is where it's at, but to be honest with you, fall is really, especially early fall, best time for these big hoppers. They're all over the place. They are huge. I call them corn-fed hoppers. Some of them literally are. They eat corn. And these things are big, they're giant, and as things dry up, they congregate closer and closer to the creek where there's water and moisture and dew, and they're falling in inadvertently. So hoppers, crickets are important, ants are always important. The fish will be foraging and swimming around looking for food on days like today where they've got cover from the watercolor and from the skies above. So if you can get out in the next 2 or 3 days, splat down some big hoppers. Don't be afraid to move them around, draw attention to yourself, make them look up. We still have really, really good trico hatches and spinner falls. The spinner fall is a moving target. Okay, it happens earlier and earlier in the summer months when the sun is very high, and now it's going to start happening later and later as the sun angles get lower in the fall. So you'll see some spinner falls happening out there at 9 o'clock. Eventually it'll be like 10 o'clock before those bugs are done for the year, which is typically not until after Halloween, believe it or not. So the tricos, get them up and get them on rhythm. The terrestrials, keep them looking up and foraging throughout the day. If you have overcast conditions, you can quite literally go out there and do well and fish all day long. So other places to think about this time of year would be like Buffalo Creek, South River, places that have okay flow and good spring influence water. Also the Jackson River tailwater. It's going to be fishing well. Check your flows before you go down there and fish. And then, like I said, only a couple weeks away for stocking season and for the state to get out there and start loading up your favorite delayed harvest, etc. So lots to look forward to on the trout side. On the bass side, it's been low. You guys haven't seen me for months because I've been out on the river every day. Had a cancellation today, so I'm here, but it's been really challenging, but also good. Okay, so September is my favorite time to fish. It's very visual. You get to sight fish. I'm finding fish throughout the whole summer. As the river gets smaller and smaller, it becomes more obvious where they are. You can see them, but they can see you. That little bump we got is going to help. That will add some cover, some oxygen. It'll mix the food up a little bit. It'll get them out. These fish probably have about 2 to 3 more weeks on the South Fork of the Shenandoah before they winter. Okay, and they transition, and that's a little bit of a moving target. We're going to try and drill down on that for you all and figure out kind of when it's going to shut down. Definitely hasn't yet. They're just like the squirrels right now. They're out collecting nuts for the winter. They've got to put on the weight. So even on cold front days and tougher days, you can still manage to find a couple nice ones that are in that mode. Smallmouth live a long time. They understand how difficult the winters are. And the old smallmouth will put on as much weight as they can to try and make it through that long, cold winter of just being relatively inactive and burning through calories and not replenishing them at the same rate. So cicadas are dying right now. You hear less and less of them every day. So they're hitting the water. Still damselfly hatches, but they're getting pushed later and later in the day. So if you're trying to figure out your timing, there's definitely no advantage to getting on the rivers for smallmouth at 7 o'clock in the morning right now. Definitely better bite when things warm up. Fishing later into the day is helpful. Topwater bite's really good, particularly on cloudy days like this. They've just been eating so many things on top. Plus the river's shallow, so the surface is an easy ask. It's not too far away. On days where they don't want to eat on top, we're fishing suspending bait fish patterns in the shallows. Long casts are required. Still catching plenty of fish on crayfish and hellgrammites in the deeper pools where you just need weight and you got to get down. So they're there. In fact, some of those deep pools is where they're all going to end up, and so there's never a bad spot to target. So we'll see how much these fish spread out with this little bump in the water. Like I said, it's gonna drop quickly as well. So if you've been fishing and you kind of figured out where these fish are, they're probably not going to move around too much until it's the final push. The muskie have been biting. We've caught several inadvertently bass fishing over the last few weeks. We're seeing them all over the place because the river's low and clear. They're aggressive. The water temperatures are starting to get like in the nice perfect range for them where they're going to start switching on. But clear and low, it can make it tough for them too. A lot of people think, oh, they don't spook. They're this big mean fish. Well, they do. They spook. They don't go scurry underneath a rock, but they'll avoid the boat. They'll avoid eating at the boat. You know, you don't get big figure 8 eats as much when it's crystal clear like this. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of color, that little greenish tint to the water, so that we can move into the fall and get a good muskie bite. So. Anyway, lots going on, plenty of fishing to be done, plenty to look forward to. Just need that key ingredient that's still missing, which is a couple more good soaking rains, like the one that we had in July for 6 days that pulled us up out of drought. That's what we're looking for right now. So anyway, stay in touch. If you have questions, call the shop, email us, or our favorite, stop in and ask, and we'll make sure we're putting you on the right water and setting you up for success. All right. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.